Hey everyone, and welcome to our December webinar. First off, if you missed it in our monthly newsletter, we created an official Grist Discord server for those interested in a place to chat about Grist and Grist-related topics. I'll share an invite link with you guys, so come hang out with us on Discord. Last month, we did a deep dive on charts and summary table views. We used the data from the credit card activity template and learned how to create a summary table from existing data, as well as how to configure a chart view. This is what we built last month. We also learned how to link widgets with related data. You can find a recording of that webinar, along with all of our previous webinars on our YouTube channel. And you'll find a recording of this webinar there in the near future as well. And since you are registered for this webinar, you'll receive an email when the video is published. Our webinar today will continue focusing on views. Today we're going to learn about multimedia views. We'll look at a few of our pre-made custom widgets, including our image viewer, our video player, Notepad, and map widgets. So to start, we'll kick it off with our image viewer. Our image viewer custom widget allows you to view images from a URL. Every image on the web has a unique URL that you can easily copy and paste into your Grist document. We then use the image viewer custom widget to display that image. So we have a table here of all the national park sites, and each has an image URL listed in this park image column. I can click the link to view it. It'll open in a new tab, but it'd be much more convenient to view this within the Grist document. So we'll do this with a new widget. We can add new, select add widget to page, and today we'll solely be working with this custom widget type. Next, we select where our image link is contained, what data table. And this one is in our all national park sites table. Because we have that table already existing on the page, we can select by that table. So then when I select a park, our widget will update to show the image associated with the selected park. We'll add that to the page. And so next, we need to configure our widget. And we do that from the creator panel here on the right-hand side of the page. So if your panel is not open, you just look for this vertical green bar, and you can use that to open the creator panel. Make sure you've selected the custom widget. It'll say custom up here in the upper left, and then we need to be in that widget sub-tab. And then under custom, we look for the pre-made custom widget we want to use, which in this case is at the very bottom. We want that image viewer. Now immediately it's going to ask us what permissions this custom widget needs. And this particular one needs to read the current table. And so it needs to read that URL. And so we can just accept that. It'll update the access level to what it requires. And then finally, we just need to select the column that contains our image URL. And in that case, here, that's our park image column here. So we select that, and now it's already set. I select the park, and now this URL is displayed as the actual image in our custom widget. Now, as I mentioned earlier, any image on the internet has an image URL readily available. We can do a quick search for a new image and copy its image address and then paste it here to update our park image. And so we'll update Horseshoe Bend. Now I already have the Google search open. I just searched for what I was looking for. I went to the image search. But you can do, like if you have a website that has an image, you can do the same steps here on that image. So basically you find the image you want to copy, right click on it, and then in that right click menu, you're going to look for copy image address. and you select that from the menu. And again, so you're just right-clicking on the image, copy image address. Now we go back, and I'm going to paste that link, and now my image is updated to that other image on the internet. So that's all you have to do. Right-click on the image, copy image address, and then paste it into your URL column here. Now, once we have all of our URLs in place, we can actually hide this column, and the widget will continue to work without having to see these messy URLs. So you right-click on the column, click Hide Column, but it continues to work. I can still see the image associated with the national park. Now, if you want to modify a URL, but that column is now hidden from the view, there's an easy way to do this with our new feature, record cards. So hover over the row number and you'll see this little arrow appear. Click on the arrow and you get this menu. Select View as Card. And now you can see all of the information for this record in a card. And down here, we've got the park image. I can just paste a new URL there and update it that way. That way you don't have to look at the URL in your table view, but it's really easy to just go in and edit that. Now we do have a resource in our help center that walks through the steps that I just did for the image viewer. So I'll share a link to that. We have an entire page that's all about our pre-made custom widgets. And so from that page, you can find all the information that we're covering today. This particular link will just direct you directly to the image viewer custom widget. Now moving on to the video player. If you want to embed videos, you can use our Grist Video Player custom widget. And you can embed videos from online sources like YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, Google Drive, and more. And just like we had with our image viewer, we only need a column that will store the video URL. And so that's the column we have here. And as we did with the image viewer, I'll show you how to set up the widget first, and then we'll walk through getting these links. So the steps for adding a widget are nearly the same. We come over to the Add New menu, add a widget to the page. Once again, select Custom. And then we're going to select the table that contains our video URL. In this case, it is the Build with Grist webinar table. And because it's already on the page, we can use it to select by. So then when I select something in my table, that video will be viewed in our new widget. So I'll add that to the page. And so now we need to configure our widget. Again, we're doing this in the Creator panel under that Custom tab. And under Custom URL, we can find the existing pre-made widget. And this one is called the Grist Video Player at the bottom. And again, it's going to say that it needs to read the current table. So we accept that, which assigns this access level. And so all we need to do now is select the column where the URL is contained. And we see in this table, it's in this video URL column. Easy as that. And so now when I select a record in the Build with Grist webinars table, I see that URL displayed as a video here in my widget. And I can play it directly in the Grist document. You can also go to YouTube if you want to watch it there. These links specifically are for YouTube. But again, you can use Google Docs, Vimeo, Facebook, all of them work. So that's super easy to set up. Now we'll walk through just how to get these video URLs, which is equally easy. So you find the video you want on the internet. I have an old webinar pulled up here. So this is just on YouTube. But the steps would be the same if it's on Google or Facebook. Really, you're just looking for this share option. And when you click share, it's going to give you a link. All you do is copy that link. We go back to our document, create a new record, and paste. And now I've got the video in my video player. It's as easy as that. And just like with our image viewer, we can hide this URL column. And our linking will still work the same. We can still see the video. We just don't have to look at that ugly URL. But if you want to update it, you would just click View as Card, and you can edit it in this video URL field here. So I'll share another link that's directly to the section for pre-made widgets that covers the Grist Video Player. And it'll walk through the steps that I just covered. Now, the Help Center article also covers some weird nuances, especially with Facebook videos, where if they don't appear, it walks through the steps on how to fix that. So next, we will look at our Notepad widget. With this, a Notepad widget, you are able to simply add some formatted text to the page. The Notepad widget does require a column to store and write data to, and that's why we have this notes column here. So we'll add a new widget to the page, just like we did for our previous multimedia widgets. Add new, add widget to page. Once again, we're going to select custom, and we select where our notes are contained. So in this case, the table is party tasks. And again, we want to select by the table that's existing on the page, because every record will have different notes. And we just add it to the page. So we need to configure it. Under custom, we look for the pre-made custom widget we want to use. In this case, it is called Notepad. And now it tells us it needs full access to this document. So that's a big change from our previous two widgets, the image viewer and the video player widget. They simply needed to read data from a table. With the Notepad widget, it's going to write to our underlying data table. And so we have to give it full access in order for it to read and write. So you just click accept, and it will update that access level accordingly. And last, we need to pick content. And so down here, we just pick the column that contains our notes content. And so in this case, mine is named notes. And as soon as I populate it, I see that I already have some data in here. I prepared some ahead of time, so you can see some of the stuff you can do. You can add photos. You can add quite a bit of formatting. And then because we use that select by, when I select an event, the notes update to show the notes for that particular event. Now it's really easy to add notes. We would just type into the Notepad here. We see for the Christmas Eve event that this notes right here is completely blank. But if I start typing, it updates and it will fill in details that basically tell the widget what to show, formatting and text. And you can change the formatting significantly. There's a lot of options here. You can change the colors, you can change the font, and you can really customize your notes using the Notepad, which is a lot of fun. And just like before, we can hide this column because what we see here with ops attributes, that's not useful for us to see. We'll go ahead and hide the column. And then when I select it, the linking still works. I can still add notes and they will still continue to save. So if I go back, my new note is still there. And again, I'll share a link directly to this section of the pre-made widget article that walks through these little details as well. Okay, so last but certainly not least, we have our map widget. Now this one requires a few more data columns in the underlying the notes widget is amazing. I use it for so many things. It's really handy if you have like recipes, because you can format it so specifically. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the notes widget. But with the map widget here, we have more data columns in our underlying table. So latitude, longitude, geocode, geocoded address. And we'll walk through the purpose of these after we add our widget. So same steps as before. To add a new custom widget, we add new widget to the page, select custom, and then in this case, we're selecting what table contains our map information, and that's this places in and around St. Bernard. And we can select by again as well. And so when we select an activity or location in our table, the map will pinpoint that specific location. And we'll add it to the page. Okay. And so once again, we find it under our pre-made widgets. Select map. Now at a minimum, it says the widget needs to read the current table. And I'll accept that for now, but there's a little caveat to this. If you only let it read, then the only required columns are the name, which is just the label on the map, which we're going to use activity, your longitude, and your latitude. Now you see in my table, I don't actually have the latitude and longitude coordinates filled in. So I need to do a little more here for this to work. Now, if you have the latitude and longitude, then read is all you need. But what we want to use is this geocode feature, which is actually going to read our address. It's going to find those latitude and longitude coordinates. It's going to write them to our table, and then it'll populate the map for us. So we need to change our access level to full in order to make this work. And then these other three are actually going to be required if you want to use that geocode feature. So first, geocode is going to be a toggle column. And so I've already set this up. We see the column type here is toggle. I just have it set as a checkbox, so you can check it or uncheck it. So we'll populate that. The address, obviously I have that here. And then geocoded address. So how this works is it'll take this address. If I tell it to geocode by checking the box, it'll then fill in the latitude and longitude, and then it will write down the geocoded address. And so basically it uses the match between these to know if it needs to run that check again. So let's say you change the address and it no longer matches the geocoded address, it will run again. And so now all you have to do is check the geocode button, and it does it for you. And so it finds that latitude, it finds the longitude, and now it writes down that geocoded address for you. Now you could come through and check out each of these individually. You can also use a formula to just set them all to true or checked. So you just hit the equal key to start typing a formula, and then just enter true. And now they're all checked, and it'll slowly work through each row with the latitude and longitude. And now when I select something in my places table, then it shows it on the map. Now, another thing you can do with the map is modify its configuration. So I clicked on the map here to reopen the custom panel here, and you click Open Configuration, and it opens this little box. And you can uncheck all locations. And then when you select a location, it'll only show that location. And it just shows that, nothing else on the map. But you can always switch it back by checking that box and saving, and it'll show all. But when it shows all, you can still click one and you can see exactly what pinpoint it is, and you can zoom in and out. So the comment we had is, I struggle with this updating for me. You provide latitude and longitude from Google, but sometimes it does not work. Double check the number of digits. So what I have done in the past, I haven't used the latitude and longitude from Google specifically, but there is a website, I think it's Lat-Long.net, and you plug in the address here, and it will run the latitude and longitude. And this one has been really useful for me. It's also free to use. After a few searches, it'll tell you to sign up for an account. And you can sign up for an account for free, and then it lets you just run almost unlimited searches. And I've found that these latitudes and longitudes are very accurate, but I haven't used the Google one, so I can't speak to that one. Now, sometimes you will see, like if you type in an address here, let me take this one for an example because it wasn't working for me the other day. Even though I've entered it and I've checked Geocode, it won't find the latitude and longitude. Sometimes it can't find a specific address if it's not in the wherever it's searching. And so if that's the case, sometimes if you just mess with the address a little bit, sometimes if it's spelled out road versus road, RD, sometimes that works. But if that happens, that's a good time to just uncheck that box, and then it'll skip that one and then continue on to the next one. But if you do run into problems, as it's calculating the latitude and longitude, that's something to look for, is just double check that address, maybe make some adjustments to it. For this particular one, I couldn't find that issue with it, so it just couldn't find that address. But you can skip it just by unchecking the box, and it'll move to the next one that is checked. And then let me share a link to that specific section of the pre-made widget page. And again, it breaks all of this down as well, between the read versus full permissions. Again, if you do read selected table, you must already have the latitude and longitude. If you're doing the geocoding, then it will need the full document access. That is everything for our webinar today. So we'll end it there, but if you have any questions, feel free to enter them in the chat. And then next month's webinar is actually going to be all about our Markdown widget. So today we showed the Notepad widget, which is a WYSIWYG editor. What you see is what you get, meaning literally what you see. With the Markdown widget, actually, I have it open. Here we go. So we have this proposals and contracts template, and this is what we're going to walk through next month, is how to modify and build this. And this proposal preview widget is a Markdown widget. If I click edit, you'll see just Markdown. But you can see that you can create a really nice form that can be printed. And so for this particular example, we use it for proposals and contracts. And that's what we'll be walking through next month. One cool thing with this is you can print a widget, which you can also save as a PDF. So if you are writing a contract or a proposal, you can save that PDF and share it with your customers. And so that's what's coming up next month. If you do want to get a head start and see what it's all about, search proposals on our help center, and you'll be able to see. Basically, it's a write-up of how to use this template, but that's what we'll be covering next month. Awesome. I'm glad you learned something new. Thanks for joining, and we'll end it there. Have a good holiday, and we'll see you in the new year.